This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, your media police post. Brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 13th of January 2020 and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am GK. Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
And a happy new year to all of you.
I see some people are just growing like this.
I don't know who you're talking about. I see the headlines. It looks like we didn't even skip a beat. Nothing changed. But let's have a look. In the Daily Nation. Gloves off as Uhuru and RUTO rift widens. In the Standard, it's now RUTO versus Kenyatta and Raila. And in the Star, is Uhuru-RUTO marriage over?
Yes.
So we begin with the Daily Nation.
Absolutely.
The gloves are off. Finally.
Yes, and absolutely. And this has been occasioned by what William Ruto tweeted and said yesterday. First, he tweeted and said that BBI and the campaigns in Kisii, these BBI campaigns are a waste of public resources. And that's actually saying that his boss and Raila Odinga are engaging themselves in activity that is wasting public money. But also second...
Not forgetting that he tanga-tangas everywhere.
You said it. And second is what he was sort of a warning to officials, Interior Ministry officials, and this was Matiang'i and Kibisho. And he said that they will carry their own cross in future. And in future,
reference to court orders.
Yes, in reference to court orders. If they disobey court orders, then they will be held responsible in the future. And I think this was a warning telling them, Matiang'i and Kibisho, that you guys wait until I come in power. I will sort you guys out.
Sort you guys out. And interestingly, in the Star, you know, it purports to the marriage being over between Uhuru and RUTO. And it goes on again to show how the system has ostracized the deputy president. So it begins with the statement that Orengo made during the last court case, the 2017 court case, that revolutions eat their own children, right? And that this government will punish you more than it will punish me. It then goes on to show how Uhuru's gatekeepers have taken advantage of Kenyatta's silence to undermine and frustrate the DP. And so they speak to his security, apparently. It might be downsized yet again. The Mombasa incident in which he found his stuff
outside.
Although
we don't know how much of this is actually true.
And how the system is also the establishment is refusing to give him intelligence reports. So it's speaking to this, you know. How do I explain this?
It's frustrations.
So I mean, it is frustration, but it's also playing to public sympathy. I think as the government is ostracizing him, he is becoming sort of more popular. As wananchi sort of say, oh, Waishe, RUTO.
But at the same time, as we're saying Waishe, we need to look at it from the other end and say, isn't it perfect that he would want people to pity him and feel bad for him?
Politics of sympathy.
Exactly.
And so we have in the Standard.
In the Standard, it's much of the same as what you were mentioning in the Daily Nation. They talk about the public resources, they talk about the court orders, and then they also make reference to what Orengo said last year in March, I believe, when he said that there's going to be an ODM Jubilee marriage officially as they head towards 2022. But then also what Morade said in September of 2019, I believe as well, when he said, we will not let that man become president.
And that man being DP.
Exactly. If that man becomes president, we are finished.
But listen, tension is not a bad thing. For me, it focuses us on the problem. So all these things should be worked out.
Let's look.
If there's a rift,
let's see it this way. Let's play it forward. No ruling party has ever gone into an election the same. When NAC came into power, they went to a 2007 election as PNU. When PNU left power, it became TNA. When TNA left power, it became Jubilee. Now, wondering what will happen in 2022.
Okay, you're about to make a bad joke. Just make it.
When Raila and Uhuru come together, they will put Jubilee together and ODM, and they will call it Jodim. But because you cannot say Jodim to the masses, they'll call it Jodima.
You really lost some brain cells over the Christmas holiday, right?
This is too much wine.
Too much. Enjoyment.
So of the three headlines, we do have a three-part criteria that we normally use to break down the headlines. We ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Yes.
I think they're all topical
They're all topical.
However, I think what we were mentioning before is some of them are making clear statements, others are being a bit... Yeah. They're skirting around the edges.
I think we can toss the star for still... We know the marriage
it's over. It's done.
Although nothing is permanent in politics, so...
That's true.
It's
dissolved. And the RUTO did not
for now.
Yeah, they don't have
separation.
They don't have a prenup.
Okay, so we toss it.
Yeah.
I quite like the standard.
I'd go with the standard.
It gives an actual statement of what it thinks is the situation.
Absolutely. Okay. So we keep the standard.
We keep the standard.
Yes.
Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a 3-part criteria that we use. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry?
Yes.
Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy?
Yes, absolutely. Let's start with this one.
The star.
Yes, ozone. And here you have locusts. And this is in the context of the locust invasion that we've had from Somalia. Started in Garissa, and then it went to Laikipia. Now here it's in Nyeri and Meru. And the locusts here, the face of one Dindi Nyoro is one locust. The second is Alice Wahome, and the last is Dennis Itumbi. And this has to do with what happened on Saturday night when they went to Kilimani police station. So as Alice Wahome is addressing the media, the cops decide to lob some tear gas, and they all decide to out.
And the caption?
The caption there is fumigation.
I personally really liked it.
You guys.
I really like this.
Like fumigation and they're fuming.
I get
it's
it.
Hilarious.
I get it. But you know how I feel about Ozone and his puns? They just...
But you see, maybe what he's actually doing is he's terming the rebel MPs in Gema as locusts. Yeah. And they're saying that locusts have invaded Gema, and they're in the name of Dindi Nyoro, Alice Wahome, and Dennis Itumbi. I think...
you know what? I like that better than the fumigation.
Let me be honest. That's the part that got me. Shall we keep it?
Let's put it in the parking bay.
We have also forgotten to say there's a locust here in the name of Moses Kuria. Have you seen his head here?
Oh, he's hiding behind
He's hiding behind the smoke from the tear gas. It's fantastic, actually.
All right, next. Let's look at Victor Ndula in the Daily Nation.
No, it's actually Iga.
Oh, it's Iga, yeah, Mondays.
It's Iga Mondays, and he has a comic strip here. And it's a wolf amongst sheep, and the wolf is labeled cash crisis, and you have a sheep that's been labeled free education. So I think he's trying to tell us that the wolf is trying to prey on free education. Yeah,
so what's happened here is that there's not enough money to facilitate free high school education, secondary school education. And we know that Form 1 students are going back to school today, I believe, or is it possibly tomorrow?
The money was supposed to have been dispersed last week.
Before.
Absolutely. So is it the best way to depict that?
No. It's a terrible cartoon, but I think it's an important conversation to be had.
I mean, it is, but I mean, how do you depict it? This thing, does it look like a fox?
And so it was a wolf in sheep's clothes. I don't know.
I don't know what it was. We toss it, please.
Next.
Finally. Gado.
Gado here is depicting a court, a high court, and you have
in
Tanzania, and you have here the state prosecutor, and he's telling the judge, my lord, we have enough evidence to prove that he's guilty, and the evidence is a bucket of poop, I believe. And standing behind him is a general, and on the dock is a free press. And before you know it, they say it hits the fan. The poop hits the fan.
Yes.
And everyone other than the press has the poop all over them, and the free press seems bewildered. I think it's fantastic.
I think it's a great cartoon. It's in reference to Mr. Kabendera, who had been arrested in Tanzania. The first one was because they could not ascertain what citizenship he had, and then when they proved that it was nonsense, they threw it out of court. But then they tried to catch him again on something,
tax evasion, money laundering,
all manner of things.
But it's the freedom of speech again,
exactly,
in TZ that is being
clamped down on. So the UK and the US said that they were not impressed with what the government was doing. Me, I love Magufuli.
And does he care what they think?
I like Magufuli. You see, Magufuli doesn't tell Trump what to do.
Exactly.
So why is the West telling him what to do?
So do we keep the cartoon, or do we...
I think we...
Should we wait?
I think we have... Let's make the star the winner.
You guys like the locust one.
You like the locust. So there we have it. The star gives us our winning cartoon, our first winning cartoon
of the year. That's true.
What is our final thought?
Now, our final thought, it is inspired by a book entitled The Icarus Deception.
Not Icarus?
I told you. Can those guys be able to call your name?
You know what? Say whatever makes you happy.
Absolutely.
All right.
And the caption there is, how high will you fly? And it's by a man called Seth Godin. give the summary.
Yeah, so I think as we entered the new year, I think we wanted to look at some of the things that we could be thinking about as we proceed into 2020, but not doing the same cliche things that everybody else is going to do. You know, the 7 habits of the highly effective person, no thank you. Waking up at 5 a.m., no thank you. How can we actually, you know, think about approaching a new year with resolutions in a different way? So yes, today, as you said, the Icarus Deception, How High Will You Fly? Written by Seth Godin in 2012. So Godin is an American author, entrepreneur, and a teacher. And for 30 years, he has focused on everything from effective marketing to leadership and the spread of ideas and how the changing nature of the world today is impacting how we approach our lives. And so in this book, he starts with the story of Icarus. And this story originates from Greek mythology. I think we all know this. And it tells the story of Icarus and his father, Daedalus. And his father was a great inventor, but he was imprisoned along with Icarus by King Minos of Crete. So Daedalus managed to create 2 sets of wings, one for himself and one for his son, made out of feathers and wax. And so he taught Icarus how to fly, but he warned him, one, not to fly too close to the sun because the wax would melt and then the wings would fall apart. But he also warned him to not fly too low, which would make the feathers wet and impact his ability to rise and fly higher. So together the father and son flew out to freedom. They escaped. But Icarus forgot the warning that his father gave him, and he flew higher and higher into the sky, and the wax began to melt, and then the feathers fell apart, and then he fell into the ocean and he died and he drowned. So most people only remember the first part where his father tells him, do not fly too high into the sun. And that has become a parable reminding us to play it safe and not reach too far into our ambition. Essentially, it's become a lesson on obedience and conformity. If you do not fly too high, you're just going to be simple. You're going to be safe. But Godin in this book tells us that we forget the second lesson that his father gave him, telling him not to fly too low. And he says that it would appear that flying too low is just as dangerous as flying too high because it is deceptively safe. So essentially his father was telling him that flying too high is dangerous, flying too low is dangerous, but flying too low has become this deceptive safety net that we can fall into. And so the story can become manipulative if we forget the whole tale. And so this book asks us, why should we value an ability to follow orders? Why should we be sheep? Why should we be obedient? And why shouldn't we aim to fly high?
I love it. My takeaway from this was what he calls the connection economy. Would you like to tell us what the connection economy is?
So he just says the connection economy is what we've had basically with the advent of the internet. We're connected to as many people as you could possibly have.
And that you're able to reach them quicker than ever before. Now,
if you wanted to write a book, 50 years ago, you had to go through the processes of publisher and editor, whatnot. Now you just open a blog and your book is there.
Or you want to have some content on TV? Get on YouTube.
Oh yes. Tell us about it. Under it, there's something he calls the Achieving Society. So he says in 1955, a psychologist known as David McClelland, his names, he published a hypothesis on why some moments in history are filled with rapid growth and some that are not also filled rapid growth. And he said that those that are filled with rapid growth, there is a central cog that makes them rapid and makes them very effective. And he says that his hypothesis is that the achievement comes from a culture that celebrates the achievement motive. And he says the achievement motive is when you have an aggregate, a huge surplus of people that actually has this urge to succeed. If you have this urge to succeed, and there is actually and you work with the end in mind, you're going to achieve a lot because there is that urge to to achieve. But the second thing I took away from this book is the thing, there's a small sub-chapter he's named More Than Your Parents Made. and this is in view of the children. The reason why we actually go to school and all that is to have probably better lives than our fathers and our forefathers. And he says that even this, you should work with the end in mind. He says if he gave a speech to high school students in 1920, you tell them, oh, congratulations, you made it. But after this, you go straight to work. And you know why? Because then it was during the industrial age. There were so many things to be made out of iron, right? And he says, should I repeat the same speech 15 years or 20 years later? Then I'll tell them, good work, congratulations. Now it is time that you go to college. Because that labor that used to cast at iron in the industrial age now needs to be better organized.
Yeah.
Now you need to learn how to be a manager.
Yeah.
You get a degree.
Yes. But the point is, if you work with the end in mind, times are not going to be the same as in the 1920s. It's not going to be the same in the 1940s. 1940s is not going to be the same in the 1960s. Now let's push this to 2020. Let's progress it. In my view, guys, do you think university degrees are important as they were in the 90s? Do you think so?
I don't think so.
Do you think so?
I agree. I feel like they are important.
I don't think they are as important as they used to be.
I personally...
You try and find a job without your master's or your PhD now.
You see, actually, look at it this way. A lot of guys are in this country are getting jobs based on diplomas. So if you have a diploma in catering or those ones that fly in there, those are cabin crew. You know?
But I think it's the difference between short-term and long-term.
Yes.
Because they're the skills you can learn now, but there are things that you can learn that will carry you over time.
Yeah, that's
a law
true.
degree, for instance,
it's timeless.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's
and
true.
take you into different sectors.
That's true.
So in part 2 of the book, he talks about myths, propaganda, and something he calls kamiwaza, which is a Japanese term.
Yeah.
And he says that myths are important because they highlight the very best parts of ourselves, and sometimes the worst. So even in the story of Icarus or the story of Zeus or Hercules, there are things that we take from them that are very good, but they're also lessons for the very worst things. And we engage with them and remember and resonate with myths because they're about our favorite people, but also our best possible selves. And that's why we continue to talk about Hercules, Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, or even Steve Jobs. They bring out qualities that we really like and want to emulate. But myths aren't myths at all. They are just myths. They are also mirrors and paths for things and ways in which we should model our lives. And that's why we remember these stories. And it's a reminder to people to honor the opportunities in front of you in your life, right? And then he talks about propaganda, and he says that these are different from myths. And he says propaganda is a set of stories that we are told by people in power that want us to behave and act in a certain way.
Yes, BPI.
Choice architects.
Yes. So in the industrial age, for instance, we created, or generations were created where they just believed in obedience. You do your job, you get your money, you go off, and you never want to challenge sort of the status quo. And he argues that propaganda often just benefits those in power. And so myths encourage us to become better people, and that's what we should sort of discern the two difference from, right? And he says that the problem is this operant conditioning, that we get cues that lead us to rewards that create these habits. So if you're rewarded when you do something, you're likely to do it again. And that's what even in this culture we do. We get a job to get money, to pay rent, and we're not really engaging in that connection economy. And so he has 6 daily habits for us, for artists, what he calls us. An artist not in the sense of painting or that,
making music,
but he calls artists, so these empresarios, your entrepreneurs, you're more than just going to do your job. And he says, sit alone and sit quietly. Number 2, learn something new without any apparent practical benefit, right? Ask individuals for bold feedback and ignore what you hear from the crowd. He also says spend your time encouraging others to be artists as well. And he says teach with the intent of making change and then ship what you've created. So now that we're in this new creative industry and economy, you must be able to share it. So get on YouTube, get on these platforms and share your knowledge. And your gift is useless if you do not, or if you keep it to yourself. And lastly, he says strategy is empty without change and commitment. And when he talks about kamiwaza, this Japanese term, he says you should all strive to be godlike. To act without fear, to be bold, right? And
I like those 6 points. I feel like those are actionable. Like you could actually do them today.
I like kamiwaza.
Kamiwaza, be bold. And that was what I took away from it. So on a day where we had a winning cartoon from Ozan of the Star and a winning headline from the Standard, I want to leave you with this. 1 second, I have to find my notes. This book asks us to be artists, to ask yourself, how can I break this? Or where is the opportunity for me to create change, right? And make an impact in my life. So be an artist in 2020, be a pathfinder, create value where none has existed before. Have a happy new year from us at the Fifth Estate. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Pang Free to Air, and Star Times.
Bless.